Dwyer, are we ready on Mr. Biro?
I am ready on.
State, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, State, call your first witness.
Well, is state just calling one witness in this case?
There may be two, Your Honor. It kind of depends on how the.
Make a motion to sequester the witnesses from the state.
Okay, if they're, all the witnesses that will be called by the state, except for the first witness, need to wait outside. Please do not discuss your testimony with anybody before or after you testify. The only people you can discuss your testimony with are the attorneys that are involved. That's if you wish. If you violate this rule, I can hold you in contempt and/or I can strike your testimony. So, Mr. Lynch, who's your first
The
witness?
first witness will be Probation Officer Bradley Decatur.
Would everybody please identify themselves for the record?
Raise your right hand.
Mr. Dwyer, you represent Mr. Biro?
Michael Dwyer, Assistant Public Defender, representing Dan Biro. Mr. Biro, introduce yourself.
Daniel Biro.
Mr. Lynch, you represent the state. Your name, sir?
My name is Officer Bradley Decatur.
Bradley. The last name?
Decatur, D-C-A-T-U-R.
Judge, I just asked the indulgence of the court to have Mr. Biro reiterate his concerns that I voiced to the court about asking for a stay and continuance. He knows the details of it a lot better than I do.
Well, no, he doesn't represent himself. He has an attorney, and you can represent. If you have any case law or any statute or any authority that tells me, or rule of procedure that tells me I don't have jurisdiction, I'm happy to entertain it. But the fact that someone represents and there's nothing on appeal, people can appeal anything, whether the Fifth takes it, whether it's something that is take the jurisdiction from me, is not something that I know at this time to be appropriate under these circumstances. So if you want to represent anything, Mr. Dwyer, as an attorney, I'm happy to hear your
I do, Judge. Mr. Biro has a case in the Fifth District Court of Appeal. It's active. It's case number 5D 18-0415 and 5D 18-2770. I think there are two appellate cases, two separate issues. And most recently, and they're both active, most recently the Fifth District Court of Appeal issued an order, and that was yesterday, or no, today, December 10th. And I don't have a time on that, but they granted his order as, it was a pro se request, even though represented by counsel, to discharge his appellate counsel. So the order was that counsel for appellant shall file a response within 10 days, today's date, December 10th, to defendant's pro se motion to discharge counsel. So there's several active issues in the Fifth District Court of Appeals that Mr. Biro is asking the court to stay the proceedings or continue the proceedings until they're fleshed out in the Fifth District Court of Appeals, because they may seriously affect this entire violation of probation hearing if they order a new trial based on the appellant's proceedings. So that's why I would ask the court to stay or continue on behalf of Mr. Biro. I am not, as his counsel, asking for the continuance, but Mr. Biro, through counsel, is asking for the stay, asking for the continuance based on those reasons. And he is sitting at counsel table, and if what I'm saying is accurate.
Yeah. You represent him or he represents himself. So that's what I'm about that. You represent him.
I do represent.
Just on the VOP matters, correct?
I understand. That's what we're dealing with.
So I just wanted that as part of the proceedings.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Lynch, thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself and spell your last name for the record?
Sure, my name is Officer Bradley Decatur, D-E-C-A-T-U-R.
Now, Officer Decatur, how many years have you been employed?
The Department of Corrections.
And how long have you been working
A little over 4 years.
During your career as a probation officer, have you had the occasion of supervising an individual by the name of Daniel Biro?
Yes, I am.
And do you see that person before him today?
Yes, I do. He's,
Can you point to that person and identify him by something that you learned?
yes, he's sitting at the defense table with an ivory light-colored shirt on.
During the time you served as a probation officer, have you had the occasion of meeting and speaking with Biro while he was supervising?
Yes, we meet on a monthly basis for the last better part of 3 years.
And during those meetings, have you had the occasion of instructing Mr. Biro on what his conditions of probation are?
Yes, I have.
Do you recall the dates in which you instructed him on what his conditions are?
At this moment, as we were talking, I would have to look back at my notes, but I know it was within days of his initial sentencing.
Would looking at your case file, Mr. Biro, refresh your recollection as to the date you instructed him?
Yes, it would.
The board may give you a moment to refresh your recollection as to the date.
That will help you refresh your recollection.
Thank you very much. For a matter I brought up in my violation, yes, I instructed him on 9/14 of 2015, but then again on January 8th, 2018.
Most recent instruction on the conditions was January 8th of this year.
That was the most recent, yes.
January 8th of what, 2018?
2018.
While he's been on supervision, is it a condition of his probation that he pay costs of supervision?
Yes, it is.
And who are the costs of supervision owed
The Department of Corrections.
to? And at this time, as we are here today, does Mr. Biro owe any monies towards his costs of supervision?
Yes, he does. He owes the total amount of $1,800.
How much?
$1,800, $1,800.
At any time during his supervision, has he paid any amount towards his costs of supervision?
He has made one payment of $20 through there are two facets that someone on probation owes money to. One is to the court system, the other is to the Department of Corrections. He has made one payment of $20 to the Department of Corrections, which they're on a tiered basis. He owes cost of supervision, a drug testing fee, and money owed to a First Steps program, which is $1 a month. The $20 that he went based on the tier was applied to the First Steps money. One payment of $20 was paid to the Department of Corrections, but it had not yet met the mark of meeting the specific cost of supervision.
So at this time, what is the total amount of monies that he's owed to the Department of Corrections?
The total amount is $1,800 for supervision fees. There's a drug testing fee of $30, and a total, in the beginning it was $36 for First Step fees. With that $20 deduction, now it was $16 and change.
Now, as another part of his...
So is it $1,830 he owes?
$1,846 and change.
Was it also a condition of his probation that he pay court costs?
Yes.
And do you know whether Mr. Biro has paid any monies towards his court costs?
The last time that I looked, which was Friday last week, I believe his money was still, he had not paid any money to that.
And do you know how much money is outstanding towards court costs?
Approximately $461.
During the course of your supervision, do you have any knowledge of what Mr. Biro does for a living?
He's a realtor.
And do you know if that's local?
It is local.
Has he ever voiced any concerns to you about being able to pay?
Not specifically until after this last violation. It had come up through the approximately that January time when the last violation was disposed of. Did the issue of money arise in the sense of his inability to pay? Can you re-ask your question and try to be more specific?
Sure. Did he ever tell you that he was in financial problems and couldn't pay, or
No, he never told me with those types of words, no.
at any time during his supervision, did he request to go on trips?
Yes, he did.
And what trips did he request to go on?
There was one instance for a birthday. I'd have to recall, possibly look back at my notes for what that was, but leaving the county for a birthday trip. He also, in my report more specifically, he had requested to go on a cruise, which was taken to court and that was denied. And then also in my report, there was a request back in the beginning of the year to go out of state for a wedding.
request to go on a trip for a birthday and the cruise, were they already dealt with by the court?
The request for the cruise was dealt with by the court on an official matter. The birthday one, there was a time it was denied, but all of them were related to whether or not monies were being paid. Because monies weren't paid, those were denied by me, and then the court denied for the court's reasons. I wasn't involved in that motion.
Now, in relation to the wedding trip that was requested, do you recall when Mr. Biro made the request to take a trip for a wedding?
In March of 2018.
And how did you respond to his request?
We had a back and forth via email, but ultimately it was, at that time, it was positive. He had no direct problems at the time, aside from making sure that monies were paid, his classes were completed.
Or not, or were?
That in order to go on the trip, he would need to make, the trip would and could be allowed if he made financial payments, if he completed his class, if he was up to date on his supervision at the time of the request, then that would be something that we could pursue.
What do you mean by if he's up to date on his supervision?
Sure. So based on the previous request to leave the county or to make other trips, he had been denied because for the better part of 3 years, he paid no money at all towards the court or to supervision. And if I, as a supervising officer, would allow him to pay money to go on a cruise or a trip or things like that and not pay the court or the Department of Corrections the monies that were legally owed to them, I would not be doing my job. So we keep track of that on a monthly basis, and if he were up to date or current with his monies, he would be allowed to take trips. He was on misdemeanor probation. He would be allowed to leave the state for trips, for travel, as long as his monies were paid to the right places first.
And did he, what classes was he supposed to take?
He had a veterans intervention course.
Have he taken it?
He did take it after the court ordered him to take it immediately after the last violation.
It was a 26-week course?
That's correct.
Okay, and he took that?
He did.
Okay.
So for the wedding trip, he made that request in March of 2018, but when was the trip supposed to occur?
In August.
So at what time did you tell him that he needed to be paid up and have all his conditions complete in order to go on that trip?
That specific trip, we had talked about it in the email, chain back and forth to one another within the matter of days of him, of him sending that. I had relayed that information. In addition, almost every month, that is the only thing we talked about for probation. It was either his innocence or he needed to, in order to do any type of trip or travel, he needed to comply with probation to be allowed to do certain things. That was the bulk of our discussion every single month. That is the only thing we talked about. He did not have drug testing conditions. He had no other conditions beside the class. Those were the only things that we talked about.
Was the money and the class which he's taking care of, so the money is the only thing that's outstanding?
The money right now is the only thing that is outstanding, that's correct.
Now, when was he supposed to report each month? What time of month?
Sure, he had reporting in the first or second Monday, and I will say that loosely because there were some times when he reported and I had to move a week, but it was either the first or the second Monday of each month.
Let me interrupt. The fines and court costs and costs of supervision, are they conditions of his probation or they're outside of probation?
They are conditions of his probation.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about the month of August of this year. Did he report the first or second week?
He did not report until August 15th.
Tell us about, when he didn't report the first week or the second week, what did you do?
The first week, he was supposed to report on the 6th. There's a little bit of, he and I have a little bit of history on a monthly. I think the month prior to that, I was not there to meet with him, and so we did not have a set date, but that was my set date for everyone to report. He did not report on the 6th, so as was, I guess we'll say our custom, was to contact one another. And I reached out to him the following day to see if he would report because he had missed my scheduled reporting date.
Okay, so he missed the scheduled reporting date on August 6th, and you called him on August 7th?
That's correct. I called and left a voicemail.
So he didn't pick up on August 7th?
He did not.
What did you do on August 8th, if anything?
On August 8th, I drove to his house, knocked on his residence, went around to a couple of side windows. He's not on community control, so he's not required to be home 24/7, so I spent a little bit of time there, and then I have a, what do you call it, a flyer, a card with my name and contact information on it. And I wrote on there the date and time that I was there, instructed him to call me and contact me because he needed to report to probation, and I left that note at his residence.
Did you hear from him at all on August 8th?
Not on August 8th.
So on August 9th, what did they?
Yeah, I tried to contact him again, and I went to his home again. I did make specific, at this point I had already had some suspicions of where he might be. So I had placed my note in the trash can lid so it would be attached, and I put it in the middle of his driveway so it would have to be moved if he came home. When I showed back up on the 9th, that trash can was still in its place, meaning he had at least not pulled in his driveway. And the note was still attached, so it would have been seen there, and no one was at that residence. So I called him again, and I believe I sent him an email, if I'm not mistaken.
Did you ever speak with Mr. Biro in this time frame after you're trying to locate him, you're trying to contact him the first couple of weeks of August? Did you ever hear from him?
Later that night on the 9th, I did receive a phone call back from him.
And what did he say?
He got my messages and he was returning my call.
Did you ask him where he was?
Not at first.
Did he ever state to you where he was?
Yes, once I asked him, he stated what state of the country he was in.
And where was he?
He was in California.
Did you ever approve a trip to California or tell him he can go to California?
No, I did not.
When someone requests to go on a trip, is there a form or anything that they come in and sign, or how does that work?
Yes, there's verbal permission for one, and we do case notes indicating that, but then there's also a form of travel permit which lists the offender's name, date, location where he's going to be going, the time frame, anything. We'll just say if he were to get pulled over or something like that, it would be something that a police officer would be able to read and identify his name, his address, his phone number, contact information for the probation office, his charges, and the range and the date range and location of where he was going.
After that phone call, did you follow up with him to get that type of information that you're talking about, the date, time, where you're staying, those sort of things?
Yes, I did. I followed up with additional emails requesting that information be provided to me while he's there. As far as I knew, he was at a hotel that was soon to change. He was not sure when he had gotten there officially or when he was officially leaving. So I requested that he send me all of that information so I knew where he was at, dates, locations, hotels, room numbers, all of the information. And I also requested that he bring all of that information to the probation office when he returned.
While he was over there in California, did he ever respond to that information?
He responded with, there was a statement that he was at one hotel and that I was due to change, and they also sent a picture of City Hall, or a picture of a couple kissing at City Hall. And the only reason I knew it was City Hall is because there's a sign posted in there that says something to the effect, this is City Hall.
Did he ever update you on the hotel that he was moving to, the name of it, or the address of it?
No, beyond that email and the one phone call that we had, I have no idea where he was staying in California.
So outside of the email communications back and forth while he's in California, when's the next time you hear from him?
I was out the next day. He reported to probation on August 15th, and he saw the officer of the day at that time. I was not in the office. I think I was in court at that time, so I didn't even have contact with him. At that point, he had met with another officer.
At any time prior to his return and reporting to probation, did you know where he was in California?
San Francisco.
Did you know at any time the address of the hotel that he was staying?
No.
Had you requested that?
Yes, I did.
Did you even know what date he was returning?
Not specifically. He had indicated possibly the 13th or the 14th. And he did that so via email.
And at any time, did you give him consent? Did he come in and sign the travel form? Did you tell him he can go to California?
I never allowed him to go. And in fact, over the phone, I told him he needed to report. I knew he was already out of town, so I told him he was in violation and that he needed to report to probation.
No further questions at this time.
Mr. Barr?
Good afternoon, Officer Cater.
Good afternoon.
You say you've been a probation officer for 4 years now?
Just over 4 years.
Okay. Brett is your brother?
He is my cousin.
Oh, he's cousin. Okay, all right. Now, regarding financial responsibilities, there was a drug testing fee of $30 that was outstanding.
Correct.
That wasn't part of your violation affidavit, was it?
Going to take an additional moment to look. Actually, now that you call me on it, I don't think so.
No. Okay. So is the cost of supervision for 3 years, $1,800 is behind?
Correct. And the first fees. And the first step fees.
And the first step payment and the court costs, correct?
And the court costs, yes.
Okay. Did you acquire any tax returns or proof of employment that Mr. Biro had?
Did I ask?
Yeah.
You mean did I ask or did I get?
Did you ask?
I did.
You did. Did you get it?
No. Not financial information. Following the last violation and the issue of money arose as a possible concern, I asked him for financial information as well as continued proof of his business. He did end up sending me tax ID information that he has a business. I never received any financial.
Okay. So you're not aware if his real estate business is financially successful?
I have no idea.
Were you aware that his license had been suspended?
Nope.
Are you aware of any of the responsibilities he has on a monthly basis to maintain a living in terms of shelter, food,
Nope.
gas expenses,
Nope.
insurance?
No, but I did request all of that information so I could help. There are ways to help with those situations that were never brought to my attention, that were never addressed, even though we talked about money every single month.
Dependent information, do you have any of that?
No, I don't have any information on money.
And no information about the debt he's in,
I have no idea.
or his liabilities?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. All right. So he has made a payment towards cost supervision and first steps, correct?
Yes,
I thought you said you made one payment, that was $20.
he did. That was your question. He had made a payment.
A couple payments.
Oh, as my records as of Friday this past weekend, he had made one $20 payment.
It doesn't reflect anything, a program to reinstate his license, a court cost, you know, remiss right now with the name of the program.
I am aware of no financial information. He's provided me none, even though I have asked. I have no idea about any debt, any money he's paid towards anybody for anything.
Do you know how long it takes for the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicle to start extracting this money on a pay program to pay into probation? Have you been contacted by EHSMV?
No, I don't know that they even do that.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the trip. Now, Mr. Biro had requested to go to a birthday trip early in our own supervision, correct? And you denied it, correct? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so he didn't go to a birthday trip, right?
As far as I know.
Okay. And then he also requested to go on a trip, an international trip, a short international trip outside of the U.S. That the court denied.
You're talking the cruise or another one?
Whatever the international trip that was denied by the court.
I'm aware of a cruise trip that was denied. There was additional things I have no knowledge of that.
And he never went on that cruise, correct?
I don't know that to be true or not.
You don't have any evidence of him paying money towards a cruise or anything like that?
I do not.
Were you aware on this trip, you were aware of this planned trip 5 months prior to him going in August, that he wanted to go to San Francisco first?
Correct.
And he wanted to go because it was his best friend's wedding, correct?
Correct.
And at no point did you, in writing, this was all responses to emails, correct?
No.
Well, did he not on March 26, 2018, at 2:12 in the afternoon, indicate to you he had a his best friend, Tri-Fam, having a wedding in August, trying to schedule that trip, August 7th to 13th.
There is an email like that, yes.
So there is an email about that.
Yes, that wasn't your question. You said only through email, and no, I've addressed it verbally with him, again, every month.
Okay.
When we talked about money and travels and things he's allowed to do with money. Specifically this trip, yes, he emailed me and brought it up, and it is not my responsibility to remind him of a wedding he wants to go to 5 months later.
Right. But you didn't deny him going to San Francisco for that trip in response to that email, did you?
I would argue that I did. I gave him justified reasons about how he can go on the trip. You need to have conditions completed, you need to have monies paid up, and you need to be valid to go on this trip to allow him, and that we would detail that at a later date when those things are proven. At that point, he had not completed a class, and he had made no payments whatsoever towards supervision at that time.
You didn't put that in an email response back to him, did you?
Yes, I did.
You have evidence of that.
I do, and I supplied it to the state attorney.
Didn't you ask him where he was going in California and for what dates in response to that first email?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did he respond by 4:15 that same day?
Not.
It would be in San Francisco?
Yes.
Okay,
I know
and
the
that the
city.
dates hadn't
Wait,
been
wait, wait,
confirmed
tell
yet?
me what dates we're talking about. What dates?
The dates in that email were subject to change. There was not a definitive time frame, as far as I understand, and there may have, yes, there was a city, San Francisco. We also live in Melbourne. He could live anywhere in Melbourne, and I wouldn't know where he's at. So the specifics, no, he did not detail any of that to me.
Okay,
What
that's-
date was this email?
March 26th of 2018.
that's 5 months prior to him traveling for the trip, right?
That's correct.
And when he did travel and he didn't respond or didn't show up on August 6th for his most recent
Right.
report to probation, you found out he was in San Francisco, correct?
Yes.
And he sent you a picture of San Francisco City Hall where he was at, correct?
He sent me a picture of San Francisco City Hall.
Okay. Of a wedding going on for Tri-Fam, correct?
I have no idea who those people were.
Okay, I know, but wasn't that part of his March request, that Tri-Fam was the wedding?
Yes.
Okay. And then didn't he send you information that he was staying at the Kabuki Hotel, not just a generic hotel in San Francisco?
He listed the name of the hotel and that was changing. And he would notify me of where the new place was at because he didn't know where it was at.
All right. And I know it's not your duty to go Google Kabuki Hotel, but did you happen to look online to see if Kabuki Hotel was anywhere in San Francisco?
No.
In fact, in response to a March 26, 2018 email, you indicated about the wedding in August that it would be fine. I really won't need to know those details until September. And you responded in that manner.
Do you have the email? Do you mind if I look at the previous email?
Oh, sure. They're all three.
If I can answer twofold, yes, I'm aware of the email.
Okay. And in that response to that email back on March 26, you also had the opportunity to just type a few more words. Permissions denied until you prove all these things that you said.
Yes.
Verbally, correct?
Correct, I could have.
And you didn't.
I did not.
Okay.
Not really.
I did not type the words "you are denied."
And then, most recently on August 11th, in response to location and addresses, did you not receive an email
I did.
showing San Francisco City Hall?
That's correct.
Didn't it say on that wedding announcement, Fernandez Fam Wedding?
I would have to look back on that announcement, but Yes?
And did you have the occasion to maybe correlate the tri-fam email from March 26th to the fam name at City Hall?
Yes, I absolutely made the connection, and I believe that he was in San Francisco at the wedding.
Are you aware of him violating the law? Law violation while he was in California?
No.
Any evidence that he was using drugs or anything illegal? when he was in
No.
California? And as soon as he got back from California, he reported to your probation office person?
He reported on the 15th. I don't know how quickly that was or not.
Okay, all right. And at no point in writing did you deny him the opportunity to go to San Francisco with 5 months prior notice, did you?
I would argue that I did, based on the email response that he needed to meet certain requirements.
Can I have a moment with Mr. Biro? Coach? Can I have a moment? Thank you. So Mr. Decatur, or Officer Decatur, you're not aware of the second JPay payment made July 31st, 2018, confirmation number 887074767, made to probation?
I don't know the confirmation number of the $20 payment that he made, so I'm aware of one payment,
And which one are you aware of?
a $20 payment. I would have to look that one up. I did not get confirmation numbers or the date for the purposes of today. I did not.
Okay, are you aware that he is on a court payment plan to reinstate his license to pay those
No.
fees and fees? No. Does the SMV contact probation informing them that probationers are on JPay or court payment plan?
They do not.
They do not, okay.
Can the whole $1,800, $1,846, can that be put on a payment plan?
Yeah, he's scheduled to pay $50 a month for the 3 years he's been on probation.
I understand that. I guess I'm confused. What kind of payment plan is he on?
When you have outstanding court costs that suspend your license, you can get on a payment plan to reinstate your license without full payment of those costs, as long as you pay them.
Well, how does that work between probation and DMV or the clerk's office? Because you've got, as part of probation, you're supposed to be paying $50 a month towards cost of supervision. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then you've got a payment plan, clerk's office, I'm assuming. Or is it DMV?
He said that if you're not dealing with the DMV, you would deal with he has court order to pay through the clerk of courts. If he's additionally dealing with DMV issues and driving, that would raise a lot of other questions for me as to how many other times is he driving without a valid license. But if he's working on another plan, I do not know a connection between the DMV outside of the lien, the DMV payments towards the clerk, and then neither one of those update towards supervision costs. They're not connected.
Is the $1,800 totally the supervision cost?
That is, the $1,800 is the total for the specific, it's called cost of supervision. There are other costs related to supervision, but that specific one is $50 a month, called cost of supervision to the Department of Corrections, and that's not monitored or handled by DMV or the clerk. It's handled by the Department of Corrections.
So, Mr. Dwyer, the payment plan he's on is that $1,800?
I can't answer that, Judge. I don't know. I know he has reinstated his license through JPay to have his license good, his driver's license valid.
I'm not aware that JPay does that. I know they are the financial means for the institutions and for the Department of Corrections. On the side, I was not aware that they deal anything with Department of Motor Vehicles.
And the bulk of these non-payments is $1,800. There's court costs of $461, $16 to first pay, correct?
Yes, if I could make a comment on this, depending where it's going. The money is because the main reason he's in violation for the money is because it's the end of his term and he needs to account for it. That's the bulk. It also has to do with why he was denied all of his other trips in the past. If he solely had the money, I don't think I need to be here. I think it's something he can handle out. It sounds like he's got issues handling some kind of debt that he's got, I don't know, but that's the reason those are on there. It's not I'm tacking on all these things. He was at the end of his term and money was due, and those violations are in there now because the monies are just owed.
Well, he successfully completed 2 terms, 1-year probation, correct?
I would have to refer the time frame. He did have a violation, and I can't remember if it was at the tail end of his 2nd year or if it was at the beginning of his 3rd year, but there was a violation within that. And it also depends on how you determine successful, because he had conditions to complete that batter's intervention class the whole time. The previous 2 judges before had actually allowed him until the end of his probation, so we could call that successful, but he did nothing up until that point.
He is terminated on his first 12-month term of probation, correct?
The first 2 charges, yes, they have expired. The time is done on those first 2.
So this is his 3rd consecutive 12-month period of probation, correct?
That is correct.
And he would have terminated that probation September 10th, 2018, correct?
2018.
2018?
2018, yes.
So he's off probation.
He has not been supervised since September 10th.
You filed your last violation of probation on September 10th, 2018, correct?
I'd have to look back on the date on when I filed that. I believe it was before that, because I had to get that submitted based on his being out of state in August, so it would have been prior to that.
Do you not recall when you filed your last violation of probation?
I would have to look at this one. I believe it was immediately following that, probably 8/11-ish in that frame, because, I'm sorry, I would have to refer before I make any additional statements, because he didn't report until the 15th.
Give you something that will help refresh your recollection.
Sure.
When you filed your second amended
Sure.
violation of probation.
Yes, the last day, you're correct.
Is that how you determined?
That is the amended, yes.
And you're not aware of any other technical or law violations occurred in California prior to his termination situation, even to this point?
No, but it sounds like I should look.
No further questions, thank you.
As we are today, do you have any details from Mr. Biro as to when he left and when he returned?
I do not know officially the date he left or the date that he returned, or what room or where he was staying at and what hotel.
Let me ask, do you have any details about his flight there, flight back?
I have no information about the trip.
Do you have any details about the hotels that he stayed at during the duration of his stay?
The one email about that specific hotel that he was no longer staying at, and then the city hall picture that he sent.
Are these all specific items that you had instructed him to give you?
Yes, I would have had, before the trip, I would have asked for all of those bits of information, all the places he was staying, all the places he was going to be visiting, in order to put them on his travel report.
As we are today, you still don't have any information?
I still do not have that information.
Here are the emails.
I have them, Your Honor. I'm more than happy to introduce them. We just have to talk about what they entail.
Well-
Would you like me to introduce them to the witness platform?
At least I would look at them. Yeah,
Well, if I can request, I would like one. The defense submitted emails, and I have several emails in between that would argue my point, where I had asked him to supply me with all of that information before the trip. I did not see that information in the one that the counsel gave me earlier, and I did submit it to the state. So as far as my testimony goes, I gave him direction to give me the information, and we would get all that information prior to his trip. I would like to know that you're not just doubting my word, but that I did in fact supply him with that information in that request.
I can use this as demonstrative evidence. It doesn't have to be in evidence. I can show the judge the supplemental discovery.
Judge, if I could, I'll
sure that the emails that I've presented are in there. No objection, state moving in composite exhibit consisting of 7 pages.
Any further from this witness?
I just want to confirm that in one of those emails, you didn't need these details in writing until September. Until September, correct, of 2018?
That is an oversight, that is incorrect, but yes, that is what I meant, yes.
Thank you.
If I can have a follow-up to that question.
Yes.
Can you explain what you meant by oversight? What's going on that?
I did type September. Clearly, the trip was in August. I would have needed the information prior to that, and I typed in the wrong month. So that was my intent, but yes, I did type September.
Yes, you what now?
My intent was would have been the month prior to his trip, but I did in fact type September, the month after his trip.
Thank you.
Okay, can this officer step down? State the next witness.
No further witnesses.
I'm sorry, what now? Yes.
No further witnesses.
What now?
No further witnesses at this time.
At this point, Your Honor, if there's no more to say,
I don't know what the defense is.
That's fine, thank you.
Oh, that's what it's Dan Biro.
It is that, it states it's
Good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to the judge?
My name is Daniel Biro.
And is it correct that you were on a third consecutive 12-month period of probation for a misdemeanor?
I was.
All right. And you heard Officer Decatur testify as to monies owed to the court, cost, and cost of supervision and first payment. Did you hear that?
Yes.
All right. What do you do for a living?
I'm a real estate broker.
Okay, are you a real estate broker with a established business, or is it a sole proprietorship? What type of business is it?
Sole proprietorship. I mean, it is a business, set up as a business.
Okay.
Business license, so,
How many employees in this business?
oh, just myself.
All right. Okay.
For employees, specifically just myself.
Okay. Now, what is your ability to pay money towards cost of supervision, court costs, and first payment?
I'm sorry.
What is your, describe your ability?
My business has been severely more than crippled, I would say. Because over the last 3 years, since the forced plea, I've been actually learning how to be a lawyer. I've been writing up documents and whatnot, learning about case law, and it's taken a considerable amount of time to learn how to do that, to file documents, to fight for my innocence. I was always attempted to withdraw the plea from 3 years ago, so that's taking a lot of my time from the
Okay.
business.
So your testimony is your income has been impaired. How much has it been impaired? I mean, what is your?
Before this started, I had gross of 150,000. Now it's maybe 20,000.
Okay. Now, before this started, were you able to save any assets that you had to pay?
Oh no, this destroyed my savings, my retirement, my future was all put into two businesses.
Okay, sure. If you were to be able to list your assets, what you have versus your liabilities or your debts, would you have enough assets to pay court costs, and first payment, or first step payments?
The first step was for, I wasn't clear on what the first step was, but it sounded like it was only like $20 or something like that. I don't get paid every month. I'm on a commission basis, so I don't even know when the next check's coming in.
Did you have assets that you were able to sell and liquidate?
I've been doing that for the last 6 years to pay for lawyers, to pay for fees and costs. I have been doing that.
All right. Do you have any credit cards?
I have a couple credit cards.
Okay, what are the existing balances on those credit cards?
Not much. One's maybe 1,000. The other is 700 or 800.
All right. Okay. And have you made attempts to make payments?
I did. I made several payments already to the court costs, and I thought I made 3 payments to JPay. I checked my email when we were discussing it. I have confirmation emails, but at least 2 payments. So Brad is incorrect. He said it was only 1 payment. I thought it was 3 though. Maybe I just didn't see the email.
And you did take the domestic violence battery prevention course?
I did.
Is that correct? And did that require a payment?
Yes,
And were you able to at least make that?
I put it on my credit card.
What kind of bills do you have to pay on a monthly basis just to live?
Let's see. You're looking for a total?
Typically, what do you pay on a monthly basis? Do you pay insurance payments?
Auto insurance.
Okay, how much is that per month? Do you know?
It's probably like $600, $650 in 6 months, so a little over 100 a month.
Okay. And do you have to pay utilities payments?
So at least, yeah, probably around a couple $100 for FPL, 75 to 100 for water bill, around 900 for mortgage payment, gas, car expenses.
Do you pay a note on the car?
No,
Is that
just,
pretty clear?
although the car is old, so I've had some considerable payments recently. In fact, the last court date, my car broke down and I had to pay $750 to get it fixed, totally fixed.
What is the age of the car? When was the car made?
It's 2000, so it's pretty old.
2000? And so you have mechanical bills you have to pay for that?
Yeah, put it on a credit card.
What's the most recent mechanical bill you have?
That was $750. It was the day of the last hearing that we had.
All right.
Or actually, I'm sorry, maybe it was the first hearing, September 5th or September.
Are you able to conduct business without a vehicle?
No, that's a huge part of my business.
Do you have mortgage payments?
I do.
All right. And are you current on the mortgage payments or are you behind on mortgage payments?
I'm current, but sometimes since I don't get paid consistently, it's right up to the last second to my money.
Do you have any payments for food, sustenance?
I do.
Do you approximate what you have to pay in groceries per month?
Probably several $100s per month in groceries at least.
All right. Have you gone down a list of your debts or your liabilities?
I had, Brad Decatur was wrong in what he said. I had sent him a list, a spreadsheet of all my expenses from my checking account. I think that was at least a year ago. So I did actually outline everything that was going out of my checking account. So he was wrong with what he said. He said I did not ever give him any of that information. That's incorrect.
On a monthly basis, are you ahead of the game? Are you able to meet all of your bills and obligations?
Barely.
All right.
I mean, there's months that, like I said, actually I would say no, because if I'm putting stuff on the credit card, that's not really meeting the bills, that's requiring more debt. Especially with more of the legal issues too, it's cost a lot
All
more.
right. Do you currently have a mortgage on your house?
I do.
And do you have an amount to it? Do you have an idea of what you owe on the
It's-
mortgage?
Monthly is
No, total amount, principal amount.
somewhere around 200,000, I believe.
Is that your only place to have shelter, is your house, or do you have other
That's it.
properties?
Just
Do you have any other?
I have no rentals.
No further questions.
You went to California, that's correct?
Yeah, just as I told Brett Decatur, San Francisco.
But you never told him you were going, correct?
Well, Judge, I don't object to this. This questioning is outside the scope of direct examination. I specifically stuck to costs only.
You never actually told him you were leaving, right?
Yeah, 5 months in advance.
So the only time you mentioned California to your probation officer was in March of 2018, right?
No, I talked to him about it when I went to his office too.
Okay, when was that?
Several months after that, before the trip. I always met on the second Monday of every month. I was never meeting on the first Monday of every month.
So you had talked about this trip, so you agree with Mr. Decatur's testimony that he had talked to you about this trip outside of those emails, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He said that just get your class done, which I did. I made a really big effort to get the class done. And he said start making payments, which you'll see, the record shows. I started making payments, and I have emails too regarding, hey, how do I get to that payment system? And I started making payments before the trip, because that's what I was told.
Now, when did you leave for the trip?
August